ES Audio.
The Evening Standard Rugby Podcast with Lawrence Dallaglio, supported by Fuller's London Pride, official beer of Premiership Rugby. Support with pride.
Hello and welcome to the Evening Standard Rugby Podcast, supported by Fuller's London Pride. I'm Lawrence Dallaglio.
And I'm Sarra Elgan, and we're joined as ever by Steve Cordin from the Evening Standard. Hi, Steve.
Good morning. How are we both?
We're good. A bit tired, but good. Yes, Lol, we tired?
A little bit tired, but we shan't complain.
A little bit tired. Busy weekend. And also all the way from New Zealand, getting ready to kick off England's campaign at the Women's Rugby World Cup. We are delighted to welcome Saracens and Red Roses back row, Marlie Packer. Hi, Marlie.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us.
No worries at all.
Really appreciate it. And a belated happy birthday, I hear. Yes, it was your birthday on Sunday.
Yeah, that's correct. So actually,
Happy
you
birthday.
can see the banners in behind. So yeah, but once you hit 30, you go backwards. So I was actually 29, guys.
Are you allowed to eat any cake at this stage with a week to go?
Yeah, I think a small treat was given out to the whole team, which was quite nice. We've had a couple of birthdays in camp, so but they've only been small.
Okay, yeah, in preparation for what's to come, I guess. Steve, aside from watching the rugby, how was your weekend?
Not great, actually. I'm facing a vote of no confidence, unfortunately, as my assistant manager of my under-12s football team, my son. We've had a couple of bad weekends, 9-1 last weekend and 9-0 yesterday. So if my phone rings, it may well be that I've got a call from the chairman and I'm out. So before I resign, anyway.
Are you one of those parents? What are you like on the sideline? Are you one of those parents?
I was. Well, yeah. So first half you were quite keen and into it, and then second half it was kind of like, what can you say? I mean, I know Tabai Matson spoke to you yesterday about his heart going up and down. I don't know how these guys do it professionally. I can't do it at that age. It's so stressful. I mean, last night all you're thinking about is, could we have done something different? And the boys were so disappointed at the end of it, and it's just kind of. You don't really know what to say or do, but yeah, professional coaching definitely couldn't do that.
And Lawrence, you were in North East England on Friday night.
I was.
You don't go up there very often.
I was.
You don't travel that far from London.
I know. I'm not sure what happened. I must have drawn the short straw. I'm not quite know what went on really, but I was travelling home. Do you know what? Just thinking about sideline, what made me laugh yesterday? I was at Harlequins with you. And the mascot, there was two mascots, and Tabai Matson, the Harlequins director of rugby, was saying hello to the mascots before the game, and they were having a lovely little chat. And I just overheard it. And at the end, the mascot said, "By the way, we need a win today, yeah."
Mascot speak.
It was wonderful, putting the pressure on the head coach. But anyway, more about Harlequins later on for sure.
Yeah, I like your coat as well, Sarah. Despite what Hugo said, I did like it.
Well, basically, you go call me a witch. Marlie, I was wearing like a really nice orange coat.
Yeah.
And Hugo was like, "Oh, happy Halloween, Sarah," because apparently, like, I look like, I know, that's so bad, isn't it?
Yeah, really bad of it.
He also called me Sabrina, the middle-aged witch, which went down really poorly.
But he was wearing his wife's coat, so you're okay. I mean, you always look at your husband's, was it?
Okay, let's get our focus firmly back on pitch matters then, shall we? And then have a proper chat with Marlie Law.
Marlie, just for those who don't know, you've got 84 caps for England, one World Cup title already to your name. And of course, you guys runners up in 2017. It's been a huge year for you already and the team with record-breaking crowds at the Six Nations. I mean, I can't quite believe it, but you guys have been unbeaten in 25 games, which is amazing. Well done to you all. You must be feeling fairly confident without being overconfident ahead of the first pool match on Saturday. Is it Fiji, I think, on Saturday?
Yeah, the first pool game against Fiji. Obviously, coming into this World Cup and get the bounce of 25 games, like, we are confident, but we, as a group, we know we're only as good as our last game, and we've got to take Fiji. This is the first time that they've been in a World Cup for a very long time, so we need to make sure that we give them credit for for being here and making sure that we get to put the performance out, and it's a good performance by us, that we don't come off the pitch saying we left things out there, left tries out there.
And I know that you guys have been given professional contracts. You're one of the first women's teams to have fully professional contracts, even though they couldn't quite manage a business class seat out to the World Cup for you all, which is we'll talk about that later on. How much difference do you think the professional contracts has made? And is there a number of other teams that are all on contracts, or is it just the Red Roses?
For us, like as Red Roses, it's massive to have the contracts. It just means that we can be professional, recover well, getting the right S&C, nutrition in, just actually having time together as a core squad of us. Obviously, us all being contracted and then playing for different club teams, it's when we come back to England, there's a lot of banter going on and everything else, but it's really good. I think other nations are putting contracts running up to this World Cup, and hopefully that, part of the legacy of this World Cup, that other nations will be able to carry on that and keep growing the game. But the RFU are championing the way with it at the moment. So, and I'm really privileged and lucky that I'm a player that's managed to have a full-time contract. But for me, I've had a contract for quite a few years through the RFU, through different playing sevens as well as playing 15s.
Yeah, you've got to read the small print in those contracts. I can tell you that for sure.
I would want to know, Marlie, in terms of obviously, the professional contracts makes a massive difference, kind of like financially and stuff. But I was reading a really interesting article about you. I think it must have been last year, or maybe even the year before, actually, where you were saying that your home, family, and rugby balance is better now than it has been. And I'm sure that's not just down to having a professional contract, but it helps, right? Getting that balance. It makes life easier, and it's something that we don't think about, but we should.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I've also had a son in the last couple of years as well, which I think my switch from being Marlie, the rugby player, and there's a lot of times you'll dwell on training sessions, you'll be thinking about your gym work or your nutrition, you'll be overthinking things when you're coming home. And there was times I was living with other rugby players that I was playing with, and actually your life just all become revolved around rugby. But for me, having Oliver, I've got this natural switch off when I come home and I'm with him, that actually, he's got my full attention. And I think that's where my balance is massively changed. And there's so much more to life than rugby, but that doesn't mean rugby's still not first. But before him, rugby was everything and was first, whereas now there's a good balance of everything, really.
Sarra knows all about the work-life rugby home balance, don't you, Sarra? How's that going for you?
Yeah. I'm with you there, Marlie. I'm with you. It is a balance, isn't it? But I don't put my dogs on the line every weekend, so it doesn't really compare in that sense, I guess. But are you missing him? Obviously, you're missing home. Are they coming out to the World Cup?
No, not coming out. It's just a little bit too far for him. He's just turned 2 in September. Actually, we just thought it was best that they stay home. But yeah, I've managed to do lots of FaceTiming, which is really nice. We've got the technology these days, so we can keep in contact a lot. And when they're busy in the day, I'm sleeping, and then so I catch them in the mornings and evenings, which works out quite perfect, to be fair. Because he's only 2, so he don't really speak that much to me.
Marlie, I don't know if everyone has seen it, but it's been very well received. There's been a documentary on ITV about the Red Roses this week, showing the preparations. I think it's just magnificent. One, to have it on ITV, but two, just to elevate the women's game. I mean, and for us to get to know you all. What was it like having the cameras on you guys, or was it something you didn't really think about, or was it were some more nervous than others?
I think it was very different. We always usually have a video camera guy with us, but he's more like a fly on the wall, and he's just become part of the team, Liam has. But to have the cameras in, the mics where they're standing over you, you're doing a team huddle at the end of training, you've either got a cameraman in the middle of it and a mic over the top. It was very different. But actually, we just trusted in what they were going to do for us, and it was about not painting us in a good light, but actually what they want to show, and they gave us briefings, so we just trusted in what it was. So every now and then we just knew that we couldn't say too much on the sideline of what we're thinking.
How different does this World Cup feel? I mean, this is your 3rd World Cup. Is it?
Yeah, it's 3rd one.
In comparison to the other 2, I mean, it must be worlds apart in terms of the coverage that you're getting. I know there was a press day before you left, which was the first time you'd had one of those for a World Cup. I mean, do the players get a sense of how much more coverage you're getting, how much more support you've got, how different it feels?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the coverage that we're getting is like, obviously we've got there's been a lot of press about how we flew here and things like that, but actually it's been really positive. And the more we engage with the media and get the World Cup out there, not just as individual players but as a squad, it's just hopefully leaving a legacy and making it inspiring younger children, boys or girls, to get involved with the sport.
Have you had any messages from the women's football team at all?
Not personally, I haven't. I know. Fran Kirby went to watch the opening of the ITV documentary, but not that I've picked up on. But to be fair, I'm not a big one on social media. I post every now and then on Instagram and do a story, but that's about as far as my media.
Are you still rooming with Alex Matthews? Are you rooming with her again?
No, unfortunately I'm not. So at the moment I'm rooming with Leanne Infante. So we had to change. I don't know if she's just said to me I've said her last name wrong, but oopsie. But so at the moment we had to change because of COVID. We couldn't room with players that are in the same position. And me and Alex are both back row, and she covers 7 as well. So because of COVID, that's had to change.
Oh, no. I thought you two inseparable, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. So we spent most of the tour together, but when it comes to going to bed, we're no longer roomies. But I think because COVID laws have changed over here in New Zealand, that roomies will be able to mix up at a later date of the tournament. So we'll see. Watch this space.
Watch this space. Now listen, apart from the physical side of the game, there's much more conversation now, Marlie, around the importance of mental well-being for players, which is super important, isn't it? Thank goodness there is more chat around that now. And you're an ambassador for the charity Brave Mind, am I right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a charity.
Tell us a bit more about that.
It's a charity that launched in March in 2021. It's just about supporting rugby community, basically. Something I've had highs and lows in my rugby career, and for me to be able to support a charity and be able to give off some of the journeys I've had is why I decided to be a part of it. Sai got me in contact, and it's more for grassroots rugby, and then being able to give off stories and just educating them. So they training them with the mental health first aid, the MHFA. He does a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's just being able to be a positive group that people can feel that they can get in touch with, and then might be able to point them in the right direction of talking to someone like myself or other athletes that might have been in the same going through the same kind of stuff.
Well done, Marlie. I think that's brilliant. For 1, for being an ambassador, 2, for speaking out about it, and 3, for encouraging everyone to do the same. And I think that's brilliant. Listen, just talk about on the rugby side of things. I mean, I remember briefly before 2003, which is a long, long time ago, we did some work with the Special Forces. You wouldn't have seen maybe over here, but Eddie Jones has brought in the US Navy SEALs. Outside of just your plain rugby training, did you guys do anything different in the build-up and preparation? Did you look externally? Did you have anything outside of pure rugby camps to build up, or was it just a question of doing your training?
No, we mainly did our own training. So in the previous World Cups, we did go, we went on army camps and did different team building stuff. But we came off the back of quite a long season. We had our normal annual leave is such a summer off, and then we came back into pre-season, and with that we did some team building stuff, but nothing we had speech coach comes in certain little work tasks, but nothing actually we've gone out with any army SEALs or anything like that.
And just
that would have been super cool though.
Yeah, that would have been so cool.
New Zealand are mad about rugby. I mean, is there a sense that that the Women's World Cup, in and around Auckland, are you feeling a bit of support out there, either from England fans or from New Zealand? Is there a sense that the tournament's kicking off pretty soon?
Yeah, there's definitely a buzz around here. I think they've sold 30,000 plus tickets for the opening day.
Wow.
So like that's awesome in itself. Like they've got, like the advertisement where it flashes up different advertisements. So the World Cup's up on that, like through the Auckland main like centre in through the roads. I did actually a running session today, and as I came back there, it was flashing up, which it just makes you smile because you're being a part of that, and it's just something really special. But at the moment, there's a lot of rain going on here, so I'm hoping that dries up before it kicks off on Saturday.
I'm really looking forward. I love watching you play, by the way, Marlie. I'm just going to say that because I think it was after the final that I said genuinely, like I would want to be on your team. Like I would want you to lead me. Seriously,
oh, thank you.
Honestly, I think you're brilliant. It's so refreshing, and you speak honestly off the pitch, and I'm sure you do the same on it. So that's just my opinion. It's worth nothing. I know Lawrence will tell you that. But anyway, okay. Should we talk about the Premiership action then this weekend? Should we get on to that? Lawrence, you were up in Newcastle, as I said earlier, on Friday night. The Falcons, who were sitting bottom of the table, they welcomed Bristol Bears, who are at the top. And Dave Walden's men managed to get their first win of the season and bring the Bears' winning streak to a crushing end, actually. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't see it coming, and that's not to say that we weren't all delighted with the fact that Newcastle won. Dave Walder is a good friend of mine anyway. He's just taken over the reins, as you know, as head coach, which is from Dean Richards. Big act to follow, and so for him personally, I'm delighted because I think when you're a director of rugby, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on you, and I think for him to get his first win as a head coach outright, certainly takes the monkey off his back a little bit. And I thought they were brilliant. They were good value for their win. Bristol coming into the game unbeaten. It's obviously a long journey from the southwest right the way up to Newcastle, but they didn't start anywhere near well enough. And I was thrilled to bits for him. He obviously had a lot of new players coming in. The two Argentinian centres who looked, Matthias Moroni. They look fantastic. And then they had the player in the match in Mateo Carreras, really. So, yeah, really pleased for them. And, sent Bristol, back without that unbeaten record.
What about, I was going to say, what about Lawrence Dallaglio's 100-metre run at half-time? Surely that was the highlight of the game, wasn't it?
Well, you know what? We wanted to do a demo and we set up on the wrong side of the pitch, and it wasn't until about 30 seconds before we came back from the ad break that we realised that. Anyway, Craig is basically a rugby player that wishes he was still playing, to be honest.
Oh, he is such a frustrated professional rugby player. Yeah. He is unreal. But he did skin you though, Lawrence. He
did, but he was also completely out of breath when we came back on air.
He was blowing.
Blowing. Anyway, I told him that I don't need any more medals. I'm fine, mate. Don't worry. Okay.
You definitely don't need any more medals, any more titles. Steve, on to Saturday's game then. I guess from last week, Luke Carandicki, he got on the opening score, didn't he, for Exeter? And say he'll be delighted with that. But the Chiefs didn't manage to pull off the away win that you predicted, Steve.
No, I got that one a bit the wrong way round, didn't I? So I need to score the last try, not the first one. I mean, the Chiefs will be disappointed not to come away with at least a losing bonus point. I mean, they had more of the territory, more of the possession, but Sale were just so physical, particularly in the breakdown. And I think the one thing that's impressed everybody is just how much they're holding it together at the start of the season. I think last season they struggled a bit at the beginning, and that's where it ultimately cost them. But they've ended a 4-game losing streak against Exeter, and I don't think any of us, we didn't do any predictions at the start of the season, did we? But I don't think any of us would have had Sale in the top 4. And now, looking at it, I think they're pretty much. I mean, we've only had 4 rounds, but I'd say they're one of the favourites to finish in one of those top 4 positions. Yeah,
they look good. London Irish hosted Bath, and there were more hat-tricks for Ollie Haslett-Collins and Ben Loader, which helped the exercise. I think it was 47-38, was it the final score? Marlie, we've got to love these high-scoring games in the Gallagher Premiership at the moment. For all this going on off the field of play, and we hope that will get sorted. On the field of play at the moment, it is so entertaining.
Yeah, and that's what fans want to see, and that's what they're going to come into the stadiums to come watch. And hat tricks all over the place. Like, players just look like they're really enjoying it out there at the moment. So yeah, no, that's definitely what we want to see.
And Lola and I, we were speaking pitch side yesterday at Quins, just you saying, that's what the fans want to see is entertaining rugby, 100%. And we were talking about how Marcus Smith had spoken in the week about that, he feels it's the players' responsibility to make it entertaining for the fans. So I think what we're seeing now is players actually kind of speaking out about things like that, where we haven't actually had that, have we, really, over the years? It's quite refreshing.
Yeah, very. I suppose I played in an era possibly where the players weren't too quiet, that's for sure, on and off the field, and they were prepared to speak up. And I think there's a lot of strong personalities playing the game. We just don't hear enough from them. And rugby has a big audience, but it needs to get bigger. And the only way it's going to get bigger and grow is if people get to know the players and the superstars of the game. So I'm a big advocate of that. I think it's the rugby over the opening 4 rounds of the Premiership have been fantastic. The product has been amazing, whether that's to do with the weather, which has been slightly warmer, the ground's a little bit harder. I think the tackle height, Stuart Barnes wrote a really interesting piece in the paper recently about the fact that players now are lowering their tackle height because they have to stay on the field. And as a result of that, I think there's a lot more offloading happening in the men's game anyway. So really interesting. There's been so many different scores across the league. London Irish were 35 points to 5 up at half time. So, amazing when they've got the talent they've got. I suppose if you're a Bath fan, you haven't got much to cheer about coming up to Christmas, but the fact that it was 35-5 at half time and it wasn't, the score wasn't doubled in the second half, I guess is something you can cling on to. It actually finished quite close. And we're seeing a lot of that, aren't we, where teams are going out to massive leads at one set, and then suddenly they're reined back in. So not quite sure what's happening, whether it's players speaking out, whether it's the tackle height, whether it's the weather, but keep it going, please, because it's really, really exciting. And, we saw, cracking games over the weekend.
I'm just still hanging on that line you just said about coming up to Christmas. We're only in October. Oh, wait to go for Christmas. Okay,
I'm not expecting Bath to win before Christmas. That's why.
Oh, you're going to be getting some hate mail. Right, Steve. Up in North London, Saracens managed 7 tries against the champions Leicester Tigers, and it was a brilliant performance by them. They were so impressive, and they have been impressive in the 3 games that they played. They're just looking pretty unstoppable at the moment.
They are. Wow, what a contrast to the team that we saw playing the final. They're running from deep. The offloading, as Lawrence says, it's just all over the place. The run lines in from the likes of Jamie George, it's just been fantastic to watch. And they're playing with much quicker ball as well. I think Van Ziel and Youngs are clearly been told to get the ball out as quickly as they can. But I have to say, how good was Theo McFarland? Unbelievable. I would love to have seen the basketball team that he played in for Samoa, because they must have been some amazing athletes. But did you manage to get a translation of what he said to you at the end of the game? Because he said it so quick.
What do you think, Steve? I can barely speak English. So no, I didn't get a translation.
I think he probably was saying, "This is such an honour to talk to you, Sarah. I've been waiting for this my whole career." Yeah,
and
hello to everyone in Samoa. How's that?
I think he said, I think you should go with the orange coat tomorrow.
Marlie, you obviously know the boys there. You know the coaching staff, and Steve's right that they have changed their approach this season. We've seen it, that they're playing with much more ambition, and it's almost that they've done it like without fuss. They've almost done it like seamlessly in the off season. How difficult, or I don't know, maybe easy is that? Because it's not something that's been in this side's DNA, is it?
I think they would have reflected on how they played in the final last year and how the end of the Premiership ended last year. And, I think Saracens are very good at talking about it, having a team building day about it, with a few drinks and then putting it out on the pitch. And they've definitely done that. And the tries are not just coming in from 1 or 2 players, like the whole squad are getting behind the line. Like you seen Jamie George last week. Why didn't you pass the ball to me? And it went straight across into Ben Earl, and Ben Earl again on the score, the try scoring list. So it's really good to see. And I just think at Saracens, we just have a way, like we love to win, and I think the boys and the girls, we just follow suit with that, and they've come out this season, they've been phenomenal.
Yeah,
just one point. I was just going to say, Marlie, that pitch though, you obviously can't be too controversial about it because obviously you've got to use it. But Jamie George has obviously been forced out of the England squad, turned his ankle when there was nobody anywhere near him. Andre Pollard's obviously got a recurrence of his knee injury. Same thing. I mean, it obviously helps to play the speed of the game, but do you have to be careful when you're playing on the pitch?
I think it's very different between like men and women playing on the pitch. Like for me, I love playing on it. It's so much quicker. You just get more power from it because obviously it's a bit more of a firmer surface. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that those guys have picked up them injuries. Is it to do with the pitch? Like it's not for me to say. Sorry,
I'm speculating.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that my son ruptured his ACL on one of those pitches, so I'm not a massive fan of them. Mind you, I ruptured my ACL on a grass pitch, so I can't say it's one or the other really.
I tell you what, I am a fan of though, Saracens' new tunnel area. Yeah. You've obviously seen it, Marlie. Have you?
No, so I've seen it through social media, but actually, I've not been up to Saracens before we flew out here. So right, okay. Yeah, the stadium wasn't ready for us. But yeah, no, it does look amazing. Even the changing rooms look amazing as well. I can't wait to get back there.
It's so nice. Everyone was really welcoming on Saturday. It was very impressive. Okay, so Lawrence, it was a very strong start for Quins again at the Stoop Sunday afternoon, and with 15 minutes to go, it kind of looked like it was going to be a pretty straightforward win for them. But as we've come to expect in this league, you can't be sure of anything really. So the final whistle, Northampton came back into the game, and it made for an intense and exciting finish.
I don't think I've seen a game quite like it for a while, really. Well, until the day before. But it's just unbelievable what was going on. I mean, Quins obviously had a chat after the Exeter game, realised that they gave themselves a mountain to climb, which they nearly did against the Chiefs. So they came out much quicker. And as you said, first couple of minutes of the game, they're 2 tries to the good, 14-3. They look like they're absolutely going to run away with it. Northampton just didn't wake up. They couldn't catch a cold. They made so many mistakes, and yet they created so many opportunities. I've never seen. I think their handling errors and their turnovers together were something, over 25, nearly 30 when you put them all together. So that combined with the fact that they missed 3 tries over the line. They dropped the ball over the line 3 times or they didn't score. So quite how they were in the game, one only knows. But we went down the final stretch with them just needing 1 score, and they potentially could win the game and snatch it away from do a Harlequins to Quins, really. So amazingly exciting rugby for everyone. Quins ended up with 5 points, Saints with 2. And I think Phil Dowson will be thinking that there's a really good side in there, Saints. And if they click and they get it right, they're going to wallop someone. Just hope it's not Wasps next weekend, really. But they're in good shape, and I really enjoyed the game, as you said, and a lot of players right across the board that played very, very well.
Steve, I'm just getting really bored with Lawrence banging out stats and week after week. So I've got one of my own for you now to deal with. So out of the opening. Oh, see, I can't remember it now. How embarrassing is that? Out of the opening, I think 3 games, might be 4 games. Oh, anyway, the average points scored in those games that Quins have been involved in, 69 points, which and 19 Quins players have now got on the score sheet this season, and we're round 4. Have that, Dallaglio.
Very good, Si. But yeah, I was thinking, do I go with the orange coat, the green, or do I go with the? How many different coats have you worn, actually, Si? That's the stat I think. I don't know,
and they all look awful according to you lot. Anyway,
right. I'll give you another one. Then there's 14 matches now that London Irish have been involved in that were 50 points or more, and 5 of those were 70. So. Clearly, you do not want to be a defence coach in the Premiership at the moment because your job's almost impossible.
Yeah, you definitely do. That's for sure. Tabai said something similar, didn't he, after the game yesterday? Okay, well, I'll get your thinking caps on them because it's time to decide which player of the weekend you think was outstanding. Steve, who was your outstanding player of the weekend?
Well, I'm going to go back to Saracens. it could have been one of a number of players, but I'm actually going to go for Ben Earl. I thought in the first half he was magnificent. He seemed to be all over the pitch, scored a try, making tackles, making breaks. It was a toss-up, really, whether it was him or Theo McFarlane for me that was man of the match, but I'm going to go with Ben Earl.
I'm going to go with Theo, I think, because it was just like a pretty complete performance, wasn't it? He scored, he carried, line-outs for class. He just gives them that perfect attacking platform. And some of his takes were amazing. Anyway, it's him for me.
And he asked you out in Samoan at the end of the game. So.
I don't think that was the case. But yeah, we'll go with that. Lawrence, who gets your vote?
Well, I can't believe you've missed Elliot Daly off that list. I thought he was the outstanding player on that pitch. And he's a player that I've given a fair bit of stick to. Nothing to do with the fact he left Wasps and joined Saracens or anything like that. But I thought he was magnificent. Really, really was back to his very best. But he's not my player, the outstanding player of the weekend, because I'm a little bit biased. But I think that has to go to Dave Walder as an ex-player and as a coach, because I think, we like to mark special moments in anyone's career. And I think to win your first Premiership game as head coach, against the odds, against the team at the top of the league, to do it in the way that they did it by scoring all those wonderful tries. I think Dave Walder, he hasn't got the biggest budget in the world, but he's trying to really work with what he's got and trying to change maybe the way that Newcastle Falcons play. So he's my outstanding player of the week, Dave Walder.
Okay, Marlie, who would you like to nominate as your outstanding player? We're very happy if you want to kind of look outside the box like Lawrence has just done.
No, I just got to go.
The Red Rose.
I'm going to go Ben Earl. I just love how he plays, and that's exactly what he did this weekend. So yeah, he's going to be my player of the weekend.
Well, let's do a Red Rose then as well. Who's made like a massive contribution to the team while you've been in the build-up to the World Cup? Can you pick one, or is that difficult?
There's so many to mention. There's a special one. She's actually not here, but like what she brings on and off the pitch as a Red Rose, that's Natasha Hunt. Like she's massive. But I think being here, I've got to say Sarah Hunter. Like she's a phenomenal captain, but like the stuff she does off the pitch, like the last 2 days, she's been in constant photo shoots, press meetings, like releases. She's just doing everything, but then when she's on it, she's with us a lot. She's just herself, trying to be here, to be the best player that she can be, and I just take my hat off to her, because sometimes I just feel I couldn't do the job she does.
And Marlie, just I think Steve mentioned it, as this is your third Rugby World Cup. Just give everyone an insight. I mean, presumably, as the more experienced person in the squad, there's players that are playing, Red Roses that are playing for the very first time in New Zealand as well, which can be quite daunting. What sort of advice have you been giving any of those players, or just maybe going for coffee or having a few little chats with them? How many debutants have you got in the squad actually?
We to a World Cup, I don't actually know the number, but there's probably a good 12 of them. But right. I feel that you just check in. But my main thing is for them to just enjoy it. Like, if you're enjoying what you're doing on and off the pitch, then actually we get the best version of you on the pitch. And, World Cups don't come around that often. And, you're at one over in New Zealand. A few of the girls have never even been on an aeroplane over 4 hours before. So just the travel in itself was mega. So for them to actually be here, just enjoy it. And, you've done all the hard work running into it. Now it's actually just showcasing it because the whole world's watching it.
You'll be flying home business class. Don't worry, when you've won the World Cup, I'm sure.
In first class after winning the World Cup.
You'll be flying. I know that much.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the lineup for round 5. Then maybe make a few predictions. Obviously, with the ongoing situation at Worcester at the moment, their scheduled games with Harlequins is currently postponed. But we were talking to Tabai post match, and Tabai was saying, "we're just going to prepare as if it's going to be played." So who knows? Right, a nice little West Country derby of sorts to kick things off. Bristol Exeter, lol, that's going to be a good one, right? Friday night.
I'm really excited because my son's at Bristol University, really, and so we're going to go down to the match, and I've obviously been going to be working, and then hopefully I'm coaching his side the next day with Alex King.
Are you?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. I'm not really bothered about the game itself. What would it no.
You want any coaching advice, by the way, from Steve?
Clearly not. Don't give him any advice. Probably is the best thing to do. Stay off the games. No gaming the night before.
Well, I might get Alex King to do most of the coaching, like when we used to do team runs and play. Alex did most of it anyway because he's better than me. He's fly half, and he's been coaching for the last 12 years anyway. So no, it's Alex King's an ex-Bristol University alumni, so it'll be a nice treat for them.
You've never fancied it then, Lol, coaching?
I was never good enough to get.
He'd have no patience.
Yeah, no, it's. Do you know what? I would actually, but I've left it alone. I prefer working with Sarra in the media instead. Now, so to Bristol Exeter, two teams that have just come off the back of defeats, really. So it'll be fascinating to see what the reaction is. I think Bristol were really poor, probably the worst they've played all season. They just didn't turn up at Newcastle. Exeter, I think, slightly different. They were just a bit unlucky, really, against Sale. I think they were very competitive. So, it's a close one to call. I'd like to say there'll be a huge reaction from Bristol, but so I'm expecting the home side to come out and probably get the win.
Is Ellis Genge back for that one? Is he off his another rest?
Well,
he'll be back, will he?
Who knows? But it seems that he gives them so much at the moment. Even if it's not with his performances, it's with his tweets. So we want him back on the field, really, don't we, to be honest?
Yeah, he's such a talisman, isn't he? Okay, Marlie, one of my favourite matchups of the season, Bath, Gloucester, mainly because I just love sitting in the stand, listening to the banter with the fans. How do you see this one going?
It's a tough one, but I think the way Bath are playing at the moment, and I know so many people at Bath, so I feel bad for saying this, but I think Gloucester are just going to edge it over them for me.
Yeah, they need to find something, don't they, at home, Bath, gents?
They've got big problems at Bath, haven't they? I mean, the one thing, I don't know how quickly these things happen, but I just saw a news feed that Ted Hill and Ollie Lawrence from Worcester are going on loan to Bath, potentially maybe one or two other players as well. And they need something. They need an injection of something, because the coach Van Graham has got a big job on his hands there. JP Ferreira, the defence coach. I mean, they are conceding so many points, and isn't everyone, but I think culturally there is issues at that club at the minute, and they need to sort it out. You can train hard, you can be technically down on other players, but getting yourself back in off the floor and recycling yourself into the game is not about anything other than heart, absolute heart, and be prepared to suffer really on behalf of your teammates. And they look like a side that are playing for themselves and not for each other, and that's always a bit of a worry as a coach.
I think that's one thing that's evident about your Sarries team, Marlie, is the culture within your squad. Like, that's evident, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think with the culture, it makes you want to work for one another, put your body on the line for each other. Like, you win together, you lose together, but it's so much better winning together.
Perfect. Okay, Steve, Leicester, they're going to be hurting after defeat at the Stonex. Although, to be fair, Steve Borthwick, he was quite chilled post-match and he gave a little smile. How are they going to do against Alexanderson Sale?
I think they're going to struggle there. It's at home. I think with Steve, he did seem rather upbeat for having just been, but he did. Yeah. He keeps talking about new combinations and bedding in new players, and we're just getting that. But we're now into week 4, getting to week 5, and by now we should be at least knowing what the core of his team is. You would hope that you would see it this weekend, but I think the way Sale are playing at the moment, their physicality, I just don't think Leicester will be able to live with it. And the Dupree brothers. The other thing as well is I keep getting done. How many brothers are there in the Premiership at the moment? I mean, that's a great quiz question, isn't it? I mean, they seem to be. There's 3 of them there. It was we've got brothers who seem Willis brothers. You've got
Simmons.
Simmons brothers. There was obviously it was 2 brothers up against each other, the Joseph brothers at the weekend at London Irish. Every time there seems to be a game on, there seems to be a pair of brothers playing. It seems to be it must be because it's a family sport, I guess.
Yes,
Sale win for me.
Wow,
Sale win. That's a big
one. I have to disagree with you there. I don't think Leicester have lost at home since 2019, Steve. So There's a stat for you. And they were. I mean, you got to be very careful when a team gets beat by 50. It's probably happened to us all at some point where you get really well thumped by a side, particularly a side as good as Saracens. That's quite humbling, and I would expect a massive reaction from Leicester in front of over 20,000. So yeah, that's a big.
Do you not think though that Steve Borthwick just doesn't seem to be know what his best combinations are yet, and we're up to week 5 now. He needs to pick his best team, doesn't he, this weekend?
I think he does. I think he's just been. I mean, they lost with a try in the last minute to Exeter in the opening game of the season. They've had some pretty tough games. When you play Exeter and Saracens in the opening few weeks of the season, both away from home, that's not an easy start at all. And the good news for him is that at the end of the season, those fixtures will reverse, and at the last couple of weeks of the season, they'll have those sides at home. So, I wouldn't. I mean, it's compared to where they were last year. They're obviously not quite there, but they are the champions. They're just getting used to that title of being the ones that everyone wants to beat, and that in itself is a bit of a change in mindset for them. And they got a few players out injured at the minute, so I think they'll be okay. I really do, and as long as they're winning at home, then I'm sure the fans will be very happy.
You were telling me, Steve, also at the weekend, 1/3 of his squad is new this season. So I guess that, I don't know if that's, but anyway. Marlie, I think this might be an easy one. I don't know. Newcastle have the pleasure of, or not pleasure, of hosting Saracens this week. Saracens win?
I think, Sarries win, but Newcastle coming on the back of their win, they're going to be well up for it. But I think Saracens are definitely going to get the win there.
Okay, last but not least, I don't know. Do I go to Lawrence for this one? Probably not, because we know what the answer is going to be. So I'll go to Steve. Sunday, Wasps, after a bye week, they welcome Saints. How easy is that one to call? Or not?
It's not really, is it? I think to Lowell's point earlier, I mean, if Northampton cut out the mistakes, then Wasps could well end up getting a complete humping. But will they? I don't know. I'm going to go for a draw on that one. How about that? We haven't had a draw yet.
We haven't had a draw yet.
First draw.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so there you go then. Time to put our guest, Marlie, back under the spotlight and tackle her with our quickfire questions. Lawrence, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, as you said, we put all our guests through the tackled questions, just to really, for our listeners, to get to know them a little bit better. So Marlie, I'll keep them short. I'll try not to interrupt you on any of them.
Okay.
Your full name?
Marlie Packer.
Your favourite takeaway?
Chinese.
And who is your celebrity crush?
I don't really have one. Sorry.
That's allowed. I mean,
everyone said no to that. Everyone said they don't.
Austin would be gutted about that, but that's all right. What was the last movie that you watched?
Top Gun, the second one.
Brilliant
which is really good. If you haven't watched it,
not seen it yet.
I think it is, to be fair. I did really enjoy it.
Steve, you need to get out more if you haven't seen it. There's something wrong with you.
Tom Cruise looks ridiculously. I'm sorry. Like, I know we don't need to talk about it in a rugby podcast, but Tom Cruise looks ridiculously young still, doesn't he? He could pass for like late 20s.
I know. I want his cosmetic surgeon. I mean, that is it, really, isn't it?
I want his number.
Marlie, what are you? It's obviously 9 o'clock at night there in New Zealand, but what will you have for breakfast tomorrow morning?
Probably some kind of eggs on toast. They might allow us to have bacon. They might not. I might have a treat.
And what's your nickname in the squad?
I've got a couple. Party Packer, just Packer.
Oh, I like that.
Depending on the mood.
I like that. Party Packer. I like that one. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Best advice. Just keep going.
All back rows need that.
Yeah.
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
Oh.
Would you say?
I don't know. There's a few
that you want to admit.
There's a few, but you could say Ugo. He's pretty famous, but I would say that
really?
You'd love that.
No, we'll edit that bit. We'll edit that bit out. Don't worry.
Just beep it.
I said famous.
Well, it's only because he's been on Strictly. He didn't do that well, but he's been on Strictly. That's an accomplishment, right?
Sorry, you said third, didn't you? Did you say third? He finished, didn't he?
I thought he was out in round 3. We were talking about this yesterday. I said he was out in round 3, and I got corrected. Apparently, he's out in round 5. So,
and he spilt his dinner all over himself yesterday.
He did spill his dinner, like dribbling his dinner down
Honestly,
his.
If you see what he wears, he does that every week. To be fair to him, Marlie, who would play the film of about your life? Who would play you in the film about your life?
I don't know. I don't know if I could trust anyone to do it. To be fair, they'd want to.
They wouldn't do a good enough job.
No. I think if they had to do it, I think I'd have to do it myself.
Okay, well, no one's going to argue. Who is the funniest person you know, or the funniest person in the squad?
I'd say Hannah Bottomann's pretty funny in the squad. She, but then also, like, you wouldn't think it, but Lydia Thompson, the winger, she's really funny, but you've just got to break it down a little bit. If you spend quite a lot of time with her, yeah, she's real funny.
I know they've got a lot of time on their hands, those wingers, while they're waiting for the ball. They're just, a lot of think time, haven't they? Really. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Dog.
And so this is Sarah's favourite question. What's your karaoke song?
I don't know. Probably Aerosmith. Don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Like it.
Yeah,
that is such a good one.
Favorite TV show?
I like The Chase, to be fair.
Ooh, bit post-training Chase, eh?
Yeah.
What superhero would you like to be?
Superhero. Batman.
You see, I go with Mr. Invisible, which is what I think I am most of the time, to be honest with you. Your ideal dinner party guest?
Just someone that's fun. There's nothing worse than inviting someone over and they're just a bit boring.
Me and Sarah, that's it. Who's the best rugby player of all time, in your eyes?
Johnny Wilkinson.
Oh, yes.
We've had
Sorry.
2 Johnny Wilkinsons. Whoa.
Yeah.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but you never know. What's your most favourable, memorable rugby moment?
I've actually got a couple, and it was the semi-final of the World Cup in 2014. I think, when that final whistle went, you just knew it was a really special squad, and it didn't matter who we were facing in that final, we were going to win it. Something special just happened in that moment. I can't explain. And also, I think beating New Zealand in 2017 in front of quite a big crowd, because the Lions tour was over here, so we played before the Maori game with a curtain raiser. That was a pretty epic time as well.
Well, listen, I think that's I think you're allowed 2 of the very, very best. Let's hope that the 12th of November you'll have another memorable moment to add to those 2. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole nation, all of our listeners, everyone. We wish you and all the Red Roses the very best of luck, and we'll be cheering you on here from the UK. So that's it for this episode of the Rugby Podcast, supported by Fuller's London Pride. My thanks to Sarra, to Steve, and of course to Marlie Packer.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be back next week, so be sure to follow us. Make sure you don't miss the next episode.
Yeah. Good luck, Marlie.
Remember, you can watch
guys.
the full extended video podcast of today's episode at londonpridebeer.co.uk.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck, Marlie. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.